and today we are going to be going back into place value, and that means knowing the value of a number based on where it sits in its place for each digit. Now, last week we were talking about ones and tens, but this week we're going to kick it up a notch and we're going to go into the hundreds place. Now, you might have noticed on the side of the screen here I have some cubes. Down here below, you might be familiar, this is a ones cube, and it's only worth 1. And you can actually see a little picture of it on your paper. It's super teeny tiny, which is why I made it a little bit bigger. We also have a tens rod. You should have seen these before. The tens rod is going to be laying down in the picture up here. And then finally, this one is going to look a little bit new to you. This is a hundreds cube. And a hundreds cube is made out of 10 tens rods or 100 of these little yellow cubes. So that's quite a bit. I'm glad that they put them all together on one piece for us, or that would have been hard to count. And you can even see the hundreds box on our paper here. What we are going to do today, we're going to start off kind of easy with our numbers. We are going to be taking the number 118 on our first problem, and then we are going to be writing the number correctly in the boxes and drawing a quick picture below to represent the number. Now, up until this point, you should know how to do this for the ones and tens because we practiced it, but we're going to show you today how to get into the 100s place. So, Mrs. Grant, the first thing that we need to do is just copy this number below into the boxes. Can you tell us how to do that correctly?
Yeah, personally, I always like to start with the ones column because I think it's good to always start in the ones and work your way over. So, and I know that the ones column is all the way to the far right, and the number in the ones column is 8. So I'm going to take that 8 and I'm going to put it right here in the ones box. Then I'm going to go to the next place value, which is the tens place, and I see that there is a 1 in the tens place. So I'm going to copy a 1 here in the tens box. And then finally I'm going to go all the way over to the left to the hundreds column, and I see in the hundreds place there is a 1, and so I'm going to put a 1 here. So I still have 118, 118. I just put them in the correct boxes.
Okay, so the second part of the directions is to draw a picture, and I'm going to teach you a little trick to make your pictures go a little bit more smoothly and quickly, and so that we can read them when they turn it in. Okay, so once again, I'm going to start in the ones column as well. Now, ones can be really tricky if you are trying to draw them as a cube. If you're trying to draw a square and make them look 3D, you're going to be there forever.
Yeah.
And if you remember our videos from a few weeks ago when we started our addition strategies, we talked about drawing something simple that you can do quickly.
Yeah.
So my favorite thing to draw for the ones are actually little X's. So for the number 8, I'm going to draw an X that's going to represent 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Not only is it quicker to draw the X's, but it's going to help us when we get a little further in the problem that we don't get them mixed up. All right, for our tens, I'm going to draw something as close as possible to this little tens rod.
That makes sense.
I like to just draw a line. If you really want to turn it into a rectangle, you can. But I think eventually when you're drawing a lot of pictures, this just makes it more simple and it's easier to count later. So I have my ones, I have my tens, and finally I need to draw a hundreds. Well, it looks like the hundreds is just a really big square. And that's exactly what I'm going to draw for my hundreds. So there is 1 in my hundreds, which means I am going to draw 1 square box to represent my hundreds. So if I were to look back at this number, I have 100, and this is 10 plus 8, which is 118.
All right. I'm going to try number 2 because it looks a little harder.
All right, let's try it.
So first I need to put my numbers into the correct category. I have a 6 in the ones place, I have a 4 in the tens place, and I have a 2 in the hundreds place. So that number is 246. And like Miss Marquardt did, I'm going to start in my ones column and draw 6 X's to represent my ones cubes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I drew mine a little smaller, that's okay. And then we've got 4 tens rods, and we're using just lines to represent our rods. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I have 2 hundreds, and we're using larger cubes to represent our hundreds. So 1, 2. So 246.
So we have another side of this paper that looks a little bit different. So we're going to turn it over and make
Okay.
sure that you know how to do both sides for your work today.
So pause it if you need to finish writing this down.
All right.
All right, so I can't say that this side is necessarily harder than the other side. We're going to be using the same skills that we just practiced, but there's a couple differences. This time, they give us the picture. We need to come up with the number.
Yeah.
Last time, we had 3 nice, easy boxes to write our number in. This time, we only have 1, and we need to make sure that we put them in the correct order. So if we take a look at the first problem, I'm going to start with my ones again. I like that strategy that Mrs. Grant gave us, and it's a good one to keep following. So if I look at the number in my ones place, I have 2 ones, and they draw teeny tiny little boxes. That would be the same as our x's. Well, if there's 2 of them, I'm going to write the number all the way to the right in my box to represent the ones column. Then I'm going to move over to the left. These are my tens rods standing up nice and tall, and there are 3 of them. So I'm going to put the number 3 in the tens column. I know you know how to do those 2 steps already. So there's only one final thing we need to do, and that's to look at the hundreds cubes. Well, I only see 100, so I'm going to put a 1 to represent the number of hundreds up here. So my final answer is 132.
That doesn't look very hard, but I'm noticing that the hundreds look a little different over here.
They do. Why don't we do that problem too?
Yeah. So once you get into problems like these ones down here and this one, and they have more than one group of hundreds, they turned them to the side just so that they could fit more in the picture. So this is the same as this, just so you guys know. I'm gonna do the same thing that Miss Marquardt did, and I'm gonna start with my ones. So if I'm over here, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in my ones column, that's to the far right. Then I'm gonna look at my tens rods. I have 1, 2 tens. And then I'm going to look at my hundreds, and I've got 1, 2 hundreds. So my number is 225.
So once we know what those images are, it's just counting and writing the number below. What you really need to be careful of is that you write the correct number or digit in the correct place value. Other than that, I think they can totally do this.